A couple days ago, I posted this video. Are most indie devs making the wrong games right now? Is based off of Chris Z's some of his recent articles on how to market a game. Where basically the premise is, should you be pivoting your game that you're working on right now to some of these trends that are blowing up, these genres that are doing really well on Steam, that you can put out a game in 3 to 6 months and have a greater chance at success because these games are really popping off on Steam and haven't been overcrowded by some of these larger studios yet. And boy, oh boy, I did not think that I was going to get the response that I did. I have not read through the comments, but I saw that there's a lot of them. I was initially going to write and just reply to everyone, but there's too many, like, I got too much going on with work right now. I can't reply to all the comments. So I was like, let's just do a short video where I'm just going to read through, discuss with them. Because honestly, as I've said in my videos, like, I'm new to marketing in video games myself. This is going to be my year 4, so I feel like I'm still learning. I want to hear other people's thoughts, opinions. I'm not putting these videos out. Honestly, like, I put these videos out, and like the last one I put out about TikTok, like, sat at 50 views for almost 6 months or whatever on YouTube before it kind of rose up in the algorithm. So I didn't expect this, and so I'm just trying to learn. I'm trying to discuss with you guys. So thank you guys for everyone that put a comment in there, whether you disagree with my thoughts or Chris's thoughts. I'm really just trying to learn myself. So all these discussion points are helpful. And sorry if I created controversy or pissed you off with whatever I said. Um, I think one thing that, as a marketer in video games, is someone that's not making them myself, sometimes I forget about how, like, passionate you guys are, because some of you guys have been working on an amazing game that you are just pouring, years and years into. And so, that obviously, like, is going to bring out some emotions if someone tells you, "Hey, maybe you should change your game," and it's not good enough or something like that. So thank you so much for watching. And again, I'm just going to read through these and just see what you guys said. So this is me replying to you because I can't sit here and write out all my thoughts here. It's just going to take way too much time. All right, Joel, it's very simple. Making games is a ton of hard work without much outlook of financial compensation. So personally, I'd be unable to put in that amount of work into anything that doesn't interest me, popular or not. Totally fair. And that was one of the questions I was trying to bring up, is like, you know, if you're not looking as a financial thing, then it doesn't really matter, right? If you're just doing this as like a side hobby, something for fun, or because you're just so passionate about it, then make the game that you're most passionate about. If you're doing this like, hey, I need to make my studio survive, I need to bring in, this amount of money to pay the bills for my family, very different situation, right? Eric said, but a good Vampire Survivors clone takes months, if not longer, to make. Something like Megabonk took an experienced developer to make quickly in about more than a year. I thought it was actually longer. Was it only a year for Megabonk? That's pretty crazy. I agree wholeheartedly. If you're going to make something that you don't want to make money, you're gonna have a miserable time. The safest thing for most game developers right now is stop development and recur project. Of course, comes up with the necessary caveats, because who doesn't like a bombastic quote in the YouTube influencer sphere? The trouble with these commentators is that they pop up when they want to sell their courses or whatever, and I get it, that's fine. They want to make money, but I'm cautious about their agenda and how it aligns to most developers. I mean, sure. I mean, personally, I'm not trying to sell anything right now. I think, Chris has his courses, and I've done some of his courses, and I've liked his courses. But yeah, I mean, like, it's an interesting point. Like, yeah, in marketing, if people are in video game marketing, like, they got to make money too. So yeah, I mean, that quote itself was probably, the one that was, uh, yeah. I mean, I took that quote because it kind of encapsulates what he's saying, but there's way more context than what he says in the articles itself. People like Chris can say stupid stuff like stop your current game and quickly make a survivor's like, because he literally never made a game himself. Actually, that's not true. I know he's talked about games that he's made. I don't know how successful they are. I can't comment on that. I don't remember the titles and stuff. But I know for him, like, he's made games. I can't even say that. Like, I've dabbled and done like stupid little small projects here and there, but yeah, I have never made a game. So yeah, you could say that about me at least. Still on Steam. I haven't played them, so can't comment. Yeah. Mega Bonk's visuals are actually pretty titan though. Yeah, I mean, I guess when I was talking about Megabonk, is like, yeah, there's some cool animations. There's lots of fun things. Like the game has the juice, the game has the umph. But I think more so about the art is what he's saying, and what I'm trying to say is like, you don't need to have triple A, like, or even not even triple A. Like think about Stardew Valley. That guy spent Eric, spent, I think he said, like, iteration of over iteration of the art. And while of course that made it really successful and a major hit, if you're doing this kind of micro trend thing, you're not going to be able to spend 5 years reiterating the art over and over and over again. The game is good, but it's not rare spark of absolute genius. What was genius was the marketing strategy behind it. You could try to rush out fast-made clones to any current indie hit with a reasonably low complexity to make a clone of and pepper the market with that. Maybe that turns out to be a better time investment than putting all the effort into a more polished, unique game, but most of these slop releases would be expected to fail, of course. Yeah, and I think that's something that maybe I didn't talk about. He definitely talked about in the article of like, this doesn't guarantee success. There's no guaranteed success anywhere, but especially in gaming, there's no guaranteed success. So yeah, I mean, let's say 100 indie developers say, yeah, I'm going to go make a friend slop game. It increases the odds probably because the trend is so high right now. But let's be realistic. Like, how many of those games are actually going to pop off and do really, really well? Maybe a couple, right? So it doesn't guarantee success for sure. Leonard, stop what you're painting. Stone sculpting is where it's at, buddy. Put down that brush and pick up a chisel. Trust me. Leo's friend from an alternate universe where we never got the Mona Lisa. That's really funny. I don't have any response to that. It's just, I love that comment. Zerod Gaming. Oh, yes. Let's give the masses exactly what they asked. Not like it ever led to anywhere we later regretted it. Just make good games. Trends be damned. And honestly, given how most people spend their time and money, damn the customers as well. Okay, well, that's an interesting. I mean, yeah. I mean, the trends could be over. I mean, I think that's what's the risk for sure. I don't know if I agree with damn the customers as well. That might be a little bit harsh, but I think you're being a little cheeky with the XD there. I'm an indie dev and I refuse to follow this dude's advice. I'm going to continue working on a game I want to make because I find it fun and I don't give a crap about trends. Amazing, Josh. Again, like, I think that's totally fine. You make one game for other people to play, not for you to play. Well, if you want to play your game, that's cool, but you can't expect anyone to buy or play your game. Yeah, and again, comes down to if this is a passion project for you, amazing. Like, don't change it. Don't change it, right? Looks like there's this there's this debate. I don't know if we'll need to read every single reply guy comment either. Pick what you have and pivot to a popular genre is a great approach. This is especially great if the game you're currently working on is adjacent to a popular genre. Can your action game be vampire survivor-ified? Can you introduce gamble core elements? Can your game be part of a made into a multiplayer friend slop like? Also, you can treat making a quick, cheap game in a popular genre as a learning exercise. Want to learn UI menus and make a deck builder? Want to learn enemy spawners? Yep. Treat it like you want to make game design class in uni and it's a final. You must complete and publish the game in X, Y months is your assignment. Then take these lessons and systems and use them for your dream game or your main project. Of course, it is easy to say this, hard to actually sit down and consistently make things. Good luck, game dev. Hey, throwaway. Excellent comment. I like that. Yeah, I mean, that's a good approach too. Like, if you're not in a space where you have to, again, drive a bunch of revenue, if you can use this as a, hey, like, these are some of the trends. I'm not like looking to shoot the moon and become the next, mega bonk, but I can take some of these concepts, make a game like this, confine myself to a certain period, and that's going to give me the motivation to actually finish a game. Because I'm going to guess, like, making your dream game, I think one of the things that I've seen with people that I've talked to is like, some of those people get stuck into that loop of, I got to make my dream game, and they're working on it 5 to 10 years or whatever it is. And it's so hard to ever finish it because you just keep thinking of new things and new things and new things versus putting yourself like, hey, I'm going to make this game by this date. that puts a little bit more fire underneath you to finish it by a certain time. So I think that's a really good key thing. I think that like if you want to improve on your game development, really if you want to improve on anything in life, like YouTube content for me, it's like, well, I could try 5 years to make the perfect YouTube video, or I can just release stuff, see what happens, learn and grow. I mean, you look at my first YouTube videos ever, it was just like me yelling at a League of Legends screen. Like it was awful, right? So I think that's some wise advice there. We recently pivoted to an auto battler, but it was a few months ago before the awesome blog post. We're going to be slower though. The slow scope creep is real. Yeah, that's something that our team talks about as well. As you start with an idea, and then of course everyone wants to add more and more features. The product team is always telling me as the marketing guy, hey, that sounds like a cool idea, but the scope creep is too much. Sorry. And so yeah, that's Mythic Moon Studios. That definitely makes sense. Curious to see what your guys' game is too. You'll have to tell me about that. Puma, do gamers ask for certain games? Yes. Do game devs have to fill the request? No, of course not. As I learned, from a rather cutthroat society, the customers don't know what they want most of the time. That can also be true. I mean, most of these games coming out before the trend really blew up, before that genre blew up, no one knew that genre was going to blow up. No one knew that gamers wanted those kinds of games. As someone whom creating something for the society, you must tell the society that this might be what you want rather than totally listen to them. You know what you love so that you can make something with decent qualities. Did Stardew Valley become part of the gaming sensation because Eric followed the trend? No, he made what he wanted. I mean, he was inspired by Harvest Moon and some other games. I think that's partly maybe where I would distinguish a little bit differently of like, yes, it's not just like make a copycat clone of these games and these genres. It's you still got to have some kind of flavor. You have to have some kind of new feature, unique twist to give a different spin on it. So I don't think it's necessarily like copy paste this game, but I think it's clear that there are an audience for these types of games already. And so if you can iterate on that genre, that's where you can probably find that golden success potentially. Why do I only know about Slay the Spire when people talk about roguelike deck builder? That's because there's no other game which can distinguish themselves. I mean, I've been playing a lot of Monster Train lately, so. But I get your point. What do I think about Balatro? I only know the game, and it's more like a card game from the outside. Even if someone would say it's a roguelike deck builder. That's true. I mean, Balatro is an interesting case that exploded, I'd say, well beyond roguelike deck builder. I think there's plenty of people that have played Balatro that would probably not even know the term roguelike deck builder. In this world, you either become so excellent that people remember you, or you just follow the trends and somehow live the life nobody will remember. Either is fine. I'm not here to judge anyone. It's a choice that you have to make. Know yourself and make your decision. Yeah, I mean, everyone's got to figure it out, right? It's not really about the trends, it's not really about being remembered. Sometimes you have to follow the trends. All you have is making a game. You have to make money quick to survive. Yep. If you have the other resources to not have to do that, and you can make your own dream game without worrying about the trends. I mean, yeah, if we all had $10 million in a bank account, then, then we wouldn't be having this discussion, period, right? I said to make your own decision, make money. Making game is a high risk, high reward. Yeah, I mean, again, I would reiterate that the amount of games that succeed and even make a good amount of money, if we're being honest, it's a very small percent. If someone needed to survive, I wouldn't recommend them to relying on selling games. I'd be a janitor if I'm in such a situation and make games as a hobby. Yeah, and I think for a lot of people probably that would watch a video like this, I think more people, it's not like these AA studios that are watching me. I would be kind of surprised if they are. I mean, hello if you are, but it's probably more people that are in more of a solo indie dev environment. You're just making a game by yourself, or maybe you have a couple friends. And so at that point, I'm assuming most people watching this video would be more in that category of this isn't my day job. I'm not surviving off of this thing. Teacup Games. Chris is such a marketer. Love it. There's an opportunity everywhere. Maybe the point is to focus on the strength of your team. Yeah, for sure. Pivoting to a trend sounds partly silly, but we pivoted towards a smaller horror game as we went too big too early and failed. Interesting. I would love Teacup to hear your story. Maybe we do an interview at one of these videos. I don't know. It'd be fun if I can find the time and you guys have the time. I recommend pivoting towards a short turnover game if you feel into it, have no funding, it's your first title, or if you're stuck. Yeah, I think that's some good advice. I think I wouldn't just say, "Oh, this genre is popping off, so now I have to figure out this specific type of game." If that like doesn't click in your brain, like horror casino, like to be fair, like I didn't even know that was really a genre until someone was telling me about slots and daggers. If you're like, man, I have no idea how to make a game like that, but one of these other genres feels in your comfort zone, then that makes sense. But yeah, I wouldn't just like if you pick a genre and you just don't have that in your team, the strengths of your team doesn't fit that. I love what you said there. That makes a lot of sense. Like, why pivot to that, right? Pretty interesting video. I think the idea of whether to pivot or not comes down to passion or profit. Yep, that was one of the main questions I was saying. Switching up to Ride Trend has a chance of being more profitable, but obviously if you change from tower defense to a friend slop style game, you might not be happy with the end result. Yep. Ruffy the Real. I think you can make an interesting friend slop type game by making something like simulating the tower supply and crew. One of your players is the tower commander that manages the research. Dude, what is this? This is a crazy idea. I like it. I was not expecting someone to come up with a friend slop tower defense game, but now I'm intrigued in how this would work. One of your players is the tower commander that manages the resources and orders everyone else around. The other players at the base are in charge of trying to keep all the arrows, bullets, and magical crystals where they need to go. This sounds so cool. I'm trying to like picture how this would work in reality, but I like kind of experimenting with that concept. Plenty of opportunity for friendly chaos or cooperative mode where everyone has limited towers to make, but then everyone is responsible for trying to keep their towers functioning. Almost a little bit. I think did Orcs Must Die? I never played Orcs Must Die, but I think they had a multiplayer version of it, right? Can't remember, but that sounds interesting. I'm not sure if making a lot of money would give you more passion, but it would sure give you more motivation to make games. Yeah, I guess maybe I didn't phrase that correctly. To your point there, I mean, it does influence you. It does give you a dopamine hit. So maybe passion isn't the right word, but some motivation and a dopamine hit. Like if I make a video and I get 10 views, you don't really get a huge dopamine hit. But like making a video now, it's not all about views for me, but it's cool that more people are viewing it. We can have these discussions and back and forth. So, I think it definitely gives you a dopamine hit of like, oh, instead of 10 people wishlisted my game, 10,000 people wishlisted my game. That's going to be pretty motivating. So maybe passion isn't the right word, but I don't know if it's worth debating the vocab of that. Mega gangsta for life. Okay. As an indie dev, I'll gladly follow this guy's advice. It's not selling your soul, it's giving the people what they want. Too many devs won't compromise, which is fine. Your children will starve. Devs have a right to make what they want, but players will play what they want. I think devs should compromise to make a hit game, then pivot to what they love, especially since these hit genres can be released in 4 to 6 months. Well said. I'm curious, Mega Gangsta, what kind of game you're making with that kind of YouTube name. That's pretty funny. But yeah, I mean, I think some people get, and again, I think it's like if you're passionately making a game for years and years and years, it's hard to give that up. And so I would never tell someone to give that up. But I think some people like maybe are a little bit too reactive to chasing trends because it's not like it feels like you're selling your soul. And I think that's a good point to bring up. Like if you do this, it's it's a business decision. It's a decision potentially for you to make money for you, your family, your business, your studio, whatever. And I don't think I would label anyone that does that selling your soul. To me, selling your soul is like, hey, this game blew up. I'm gonna make like a copy paste exact of this game, scam game or whatever. Like, maybe that's selling your soul, but like pivoting into a genre that is doing well, I don't think selling your soul is the right way to frame that. If that's what's holding you back, I would say like it's gonna be okay. You're not selling your soul. That's totally fine. It's a strategic decision, I think. Whether you do it or not, that's up to you. But I would frame it as a strategic decision rather than like I'm selling my soul. Thiger. Ideally, you pivot to a genre that's going to be trending on Steam just around or shortly after your launch date. Yeah, I mean, if you can predict the market that far in advance. I think that's the tough part. I question, like, how do you do that? Like, can you think 6 months in advance and be like, okay, these are the genres that are trending now, but in 6 months, this new genre is going to start trending? Like, how do you do that? I'm curious if anyone has advice or thoughts there. Mutant Leg, as a hobby dev, the whole point for me is I don't have to care one bit about what a genre is popular or what people play right now. Great. Love that for you. That's amazing. But as a game dev who needs a paycheck, then you can chase the trend. See, this is, I mean, we're having the same conversations over and over again. Big studios will never make something like Megabonk or Vampire Survivors. It's just not a thing. There's no phase 4. It's disingenuous to pretend only indie devs are ever creative. That's not true either. I don't know if I said that. If I can't remember. If I said only indie devs are creative, I mean, I work at AA studios so far, in my experience, and there's definitely creative people. So I don't know if I accidentally said that. That's not what I intended. One of his examples was Deep Rock Galactic Survivor. Or am I Deep Rock? Yes. So it's not necessarily that they are like Blizzard or Riot coming in, but they're a bigger developer with a publisher coming in to not necessarily perfect a genre, but to like bring that more high quality studio polish to it, if it makes sense, is more of the argument and point. It's not like, oh, Blizzard is going to come in and make a friend slop game. I would be very surprised if they do that. That would be that would be a crazy world we live in. I can honestly imagine Konami releasing some Castlevania branded vampire clone. Yeah, sure. Yeah, I mean that could be an example of something. Melton Studios. Personally, as a beginner indie dev, I tend to pivot to horror, crude comedy, and action adventure or open world crime. So I can't see myself trying to make something I'm not interested in, like sim games, for example. Yep, that's a good point. I mean, the nice thing for you is horror is very popular right now. There's potentially some crude comedy games that are doing decent as well. So yeah, I mean, it doesn't sound like you necessarily have to pivot because it sounds like some of your passions fit some of those trends. If you desperately need the chance to make quick cash, or cash quick, pivot and hope you get in before the 100 other people chasing that trend do. Also, the big downside to chasing trends is you probably not make a new original concept no one has ever seen before. Yeah, I mean, in gaming, in art in general, film, whatever, books, is there really anything totally new, original concept no one has ever seen before? You know, it's kind of saying there's nothing new under the sun. Like everything takes inspiration for something. But I get your point. You're kind of saying like maybe you're the one that creates a new genre trend if you're not chasing the trends, but you have to make a freaking damn perfect game if you're going to be the one that comes up with something that no one has ever seen before and is a completely new genre that you blow up. Like if you're going to be the Slay the Spire or whatever it is, as we talked about in the video, the Vampire Survivors, like you're going to have to make it not, not B tier. It has to be, it has to be pretty dang good. Um, or, you'll make a Dream Quest, which is the roguelike deck builder before Slay the Spire, and not many people know about it, right? Like they did make something in theory kind of new, but it never really blew up in the same way that Slay the Spire did. Grovoin. I really hate when people say graphics would not matter. They do matter a lot, even for indie games and even for games that focus on mechanics rather than graphical powers. Even in games like Megabonks, the graphics are not just a random pile of crap. I agree with that. Maybe I emphasized too much the other way. They have a consistent aesthetic and art direction that is indeed important to have and not that easy to accomplish. Look at Balatro. It's a super crunchy game with very abstract mechanics, and they are super fun and addicting. But without its great aesthetic and believably good music, agreed, sound effects as well, I don't think that it would ever have been nearly as successful. Again, I agree. Definitely Balatro has that juice. It has its oomph to the game. I think it's the same deal with pretty much every successful indie game. Yes, many don't have great graphics, but I would say every one of them has a style that makes it pleasing in some way. Don't underestimate this. You can have simple graphics. Yeah, and I guess that's very good clarification. It's not you have amazing graphics versus shitty graphics. I think maybe that's a bad way to frame it that maybe I talked about. Maybe a better spectrum, Grovoin, I'd be curious to hear your points on this. Maybe the spectrum is more like graphics that take a ton of time versus graphics that are quick. But you still need the pleasing aesthetics, a good theme, the sound effects, the voice, whatever. The even Megabonk like has that kind of silly, sarcastic. When you die, it's like maybe it's a skill issue, or like on the main menu, like this game sucks, or whatever. Like all these dumb quotes that are just funny. Like it has that sassy, like not taking itself too seriously vibe. So yeah, I agree. That's a really good point. Call out like it needs to be cohesive, but I think it just the spectrum is like you don't need to spend 5 to 10 years on your graphics. You're not aiming for that quality level of time, but it's still important. Dragons Snack Productions. The answer is really clear. Is screen sunbathed kids are entering teenage years. Add fast games without thinking. Yeah, it's the TikTok generation for sure. Current slop games are moved on from Roblox to more serious Roblox friend slop viral games. Sorry, I'm having a hard time reading the sentence. This will not stop soon. Classic games are not appreciated more. That being said, I'm finishing my multi-year classic game. Dragon Snack, well done. I'm curious to see when you finish it. Let me know. That's amazing. Curious what the title of your game is. But yeah, that's a good point. And there are examples. I'm trying to remember of was it in Blood, Sweat, and Pixels? They talked about the Kickstarter. Was it Pillars of Eternity, I believe, where a lot of that genre of those people that grew up playing some of those classic RPGs in the 90s and early 2000s, there was an audience that clearly wasn't in the trend anymore. No one was making games for that audience group anymore. And all of a sudden, I think it was Pillars of Eternity started the Kickstarter, and there was that audience that woke back up and said, "Oh my gosh, no one's making games for us anymore." So yeah, you could flip the script entirely and say Dragon Snack Production. Like if there's a niche audience that no one is paying attention to anymore, even though it's not trending, that could be a way to success for sure. There are people getting sick of slop and looking for games that are actually good. As a player, I want something that gives me something worth not just my money, but even more limited time as well. As a developer, I just want to give that to other players. I mean, I think Friend Slap makes it sound like these games suck, but like go play Peak. Like my family had a ton of fun with that game. So I don't think necessarily like Friend Slap means it's a bad game. I'm sure there's Friend Slap games that aren't very good. Yeah, I don't know them off the top of my head. Okay. This is not a new discovery by any stretch. Indie games have been around since forever, and plenty of those were amazing fun at heavily discounted price. I can't even say that indie games became better either. Nor were all of them always these play forever type roguelikes either. The whole premise of an indie dev golden era is such BS too. Yes, the access to platforms like Steam and Epic is great now, but for any successful game, you'll still need a game that's actually any good. Megabonk is great despite its asset flip visuals. In a way, it was not even a real choice. 3D model can't actually. Sorry guys, I'm losing my mind. I need to go eat some dinner. Happy that he meant to. Okay. Yeah, I think that was part of the video where I kind of went off on a tangent talking about like maybe as the gaming audience has matured, we care less about the graphics. That was more anecdotal. Sure. I'm not gonna hold tight to that thought I had. I guess it's the golden era for game creators too. All the developers I watch who have been doing it for 15 years said it's gotten harder since the 2010s because there's more competition and the standards have gotten higher. Marketers want to sell you on the dream so they can sell you courses. I mean, yeah, indie game development, indie game marketing is tough. So I haven't been around long enough to say if it's gotten easier or harder. I would leave that opinion to the experts who, as you've said, Hot Worlds have been around for 15 year plus. So I think it's interesting because the tools have gotten better and better, but just like anything, like Spotify, right? Like the tools have gotten easier and easier for one single person to make music that, 30 years ago, 5, 10, 15 people had to produce. And so you have a lot easier, like anyone can make good entertainment, good music, good video games, good YouTube videos, whatever it is that we want to talk about. But that does mean competition has risen a ton. So yeah, I don't really have a good answer on that. It's never been more accessible for a small team or one person to create something substantial. The true meaning of indie, and it's only going to get easier for foreseeable future as more tools become available. I think especially like people are probably going to debate the effect of AI, but AI in video game development is just seemingly continuing to grow, whether that's good or bad, especially for indie games. But yeah, the tools are becoming more and more insane. Doesn't mean they're guaranteed success sales wise, but it's a huge positive for people who could not dream of doing this on their own 20 years ago. Yeah, I mean, 20 years ago, you're even talking about like, I was reading the story of how Kinshi was made, and the guy was like on Ogre, or however you say the programming language, and like reading through like massive textbook manuals to figure out how to develop. It's those stories probably won't need to be the same anymore. Uh, Mario 64, Toy Story 2, Sheep Raider, JSRF style platformers, not horror, not meme, not mascot cringe, need to make a comeback. That would be cool. I've been playing games my entire life, graphics style, that's it. It's like making your bathroom entirely gold plated. True, I do need to have that kind of money to do it, but it also doesn't mean I would want to even if I had the money. Sure, not every developer can do AAA graphics, but it doesn't mean every game should have AAA graphics. The video is trying to make out like we've disheveled hags begging for food scraps every time we play a game without AAA graphics. I don't remember saying that, but okay. Sorry if that's what I conveyed. I'm sorry, but a lot of AAA games aren't visually interesting anymore. That's what I was. I guess that was the point I was trying to make. Is like AAA graphics don't actually really matter to me personally anymore. They're all looking the same. They're homogeneous, boring. I like games that visually stand out, that elicit interest when I look at them. I'm not a beggar. I'm not sad and forlorn when I play a game without AAA graphics. I'm quite happy. Yeah, like weird. I got exactly the contrary of what you said about graphics. Okay, so yes, I don't know what I communicated that started that debate, but sure. Both articles are kind of terrible, just focusing on some random hit games, a bit ridiculous. Plenty of games do fairly well in genres outside of Vampire Survivor clones or incremental games space. Problem is, people always will be. You need to have a great game. If there's one person people shouldn't listen to, it's probably Chris with the golden mic. I'm kind of surprised in these YouTube comments because most people I've talked to outside of these comments have given really great feedback about Chris, and I personally have learned a lot about Chris, but I think these articles that he wrote are probably the most controversial because it talks about chasing trends, if you want to frame it in that way. And so, yeah, I mean, I don't know if we want to hash that out again, but that is an interesting thought there, Eric. To me, Chris is talking to indie dev with non-original game, with a game who has nothing to stand out. So these types of devs are most likely want to seek a secret formula. Chris to say to make X game and genre, and boom, everyone will rush to that genre. That's the clone of low effort game. No, find an undeserved genre, verify if you can make it, and if so, do it. Yeah, I mean, the reality is like the amount of games, and I used to just make Steam videos where I would just go through like every single day, all the Steam releases for that day. And it's just like there's 10, 20, sometimes 30 games coming out in a day. And like the vast majority, it's just like, and some of it is just like people like doing it as a hobby, releasing it and moving on. But like, if you just go look at the Steam catalog and the amount of games that come out, it's like, I feel like the majority of people, maybe just if you are trying to chase the reality of quitting your day job or making enough money, like it just seems like people aren't making the right decisions. And I hate to say it that way because maybe I sound arrogant and I'm not trying to come off that way. But again, coming to that example of like the person I was doing that freelance work for, of like, if you're just making a tower defense game that feels more like a mobile game and you're trying to launch it on Steam, like I just don't see why you're making that type of game, but unless it's a passion or a hobby. There's no such thing as an undeserved genre, though. Give me one genre where there isn't at least one modern era game that is popular and has sold a million plus copies. It doesn't exist. In reality, all these mediocre games that have nothing to stand out and grab people's attention are itself the issue, not the genre they are from. A totally uninspired mediocre clone will not generate money. Yeah, of course. Chris is basically misleading people, claiming that all they need is just the right timing and launch window. I don't think Chris has said that at all. And maybe that's what you got. I don't know if you got that from my video, because my video, like, very shortly was trying to summarize what he was saying in whatever 10,000 word articles. It sounded like you said you read through the articles yourself. But yeah, I get your core point, Eric, of like, it doesn't really matter what genre you're making if you're not able and capable to make a great game yourself. Like, maybe if you make a C tier game in a trending genre, you have a small chance to make some more money than you would have chasing, a really crowded genre that's already, massively popular or something like that. But yeah, like, the reality is, like, you're still gonna have to make a game that's a B tier, B plus, or an A tier to make money. Okay, a lot of comments here about Chris, so I won't dip into that again. Like, I've enjoyed what he's had to say, but I'm not the one making games, so it's interesting to hear the debate there. Your description of big studios being in suits and ties. Oh, hold on one sec. Description of big studios being guys in suits and ties making PowerPoints show how few you know about big studios. Sounds arrogant to me. Again, sorry for coming off as arrogant. I think it was just a caricature to point out that most of these AAA studios don't have the ability to pivot quickly as AA, single A, solo developers, obviously. And in his articles, there's a lot of people talking about how they were working on a game for 4 years as a small studio, decided this isn't working, and let's pivot to this different genre, different trend. And they were able to put out a game in a few months and become pretty successful. I agree. I don't know what it's like to be in a big studio. I've never been in Activision, Blizzard, Riot. So yeah, sorry if I sound arrogant. I'm not trying to just make all AAA people sound bad. I've met people that have worked in AAA studios, and they're great. They're great people. I think everyone in the game industry just wants to make good games. I only want to make games I want to. Yes, you have to target fans of genre you're creating the game for. How many more do we got? Okay, I gotta eat dinner here soon. Game reviewers on YouTube. Indie games of the future. Marketing gurus. Your own ideas aren't good enough to be successful. Those original masterpieces just got lucky. You should chase the trends and rush low effort slop. Indie devs on Reddit, after making an awful derivative game, I did everything they said and still failed. My game is good. Marketers will say AAA executives in boardrooms decide what to make using PowerPoints, and that's bad, and then literally pull a 30 PowerPoint slide telling you to make what. Okay. Gaming is doomed. Interesting take. That is a funny loop and cycle. I'll have to think more on that one. Using trends and pumping up slop may lead to more money in the short term, but if there's no passion in the game, it'll get overshadowed and fade away quickly. So I don't think that's a good idea to go that route for short-term success unless you only care about cash grabs. I kind of disagree calling it a cash grab, but I get your point there. Well-made game in any genre has the potential to become highly successful, although the odds of that are lower in less popular genres, and you risk little to no success. I think that's the other thing too. I don't think maybe I've iterated that in the first video enough of like, it's not that you put out a game in 3 to 6 months that is absolute shit and terrible and is like shovelware. It's you need to put out a game that still has some polish, some magic, something iterating on that genre. I agree. If you're just chasing a trend and putting out a sloppy shovelware game, yeah, that's still not going to get you anywhere. Chris sells snake oil. I disagree about the golden era. Indie games haven't been so hollow in a very long time, granted the few exceptions there. Interesting. I would be curious to hear more of your thoughts there, Michael Ross. Personally, I think Chris has a lot of great info, so I don't know if saying he sells snake oil, like a lot of people have given good reviews from what he's been teaching them. So curious what you mean by he sells snake oil. Like, you don't think anything he says is of value or purpose? Interesting. Yeah, I haven't heard that take before. And why indie games haven't been so hollow. I kind of need more context. I don't know what you necessarily mean of that. A sick and tired STS like, yes, you can take it some of the future, but you have to ask how these are implemented. A game is multiple systems working together. It's not patchwork. You have to understand why you're adding this, why your game needs this. Consumerism looks on things make things worse. The game itself is one that should prove its worth. Sick and tired of games being player pleasers. Games need to be more selfish more often. Interesting take. I get what you're saying, but I also think like it's hard to me to get around of like, yes, you shouldn't just exactly chase a trend and give every player exactly what they want. But I think if you completely ignore what gamers are asking for, what they're interested in, or what some of the data and trends are showing, I also don't think personally don't think that's a great strategy. Don't follow current hypes until you finish. The next hype will replace it, and you'll have made it in vain. That is potential. That is the risk that Chris even brings up in his article. Do it for you and the art, not the money and hype. Again, I think that depends if you're in the situation that's possible. Get a normal job, go play tennis, then quit. Okay. Interesting. I don't know. Fighting game explosion, check. Music game explosion, mission accomplished, roguelikes, retro randomizer, golden. Truth be told, I'm not really even sure what to make next. I did want to make a game of playing games, but game systems did what achievement hunting already do too. Now it's more like, how can I reduce these concepts to a tight enough format to respect the time I have to play? All right. Well, Tony, wish you luck. I don't know. I feel like I'd have to kind of personally talk to you about the game you're making there and brainstorm together to really understand what you're trying to build there. But thank you for your comment. Thank you everyone for your comments. And this was way longer even than I intended this video to be, to respond to all these comments. And I'm sure I'll get more. Sorry if I didn't get into any of your new comments, but appreciate you guys and curious to hear more of your thoughts, and drop in the comments below as well. Like, what games are you building? Like, even if you're not pivoting, if you're not listening to any of this advice, or you don't agree with it at all, I'd love to just hear what you're working on. And curious if anyone wants me to take a look and just give my thoughts and feedback. Thank you guys so much, and I'll see you next video. Peace out, everyone.